Hey guys, and sorry for being away for quite some time here. Real life took over, and also the raid realm opened again, and I've had a lot of things to do there, so yeah. But I'm back here, and today I have tested the Aldor and Scryers rep farms for Protection Paladin early on in TBC. And I have some quite interesting finds to show actually. So I just went over my gear here, and I'm about to start a pool. So this place is the same place I made a video on my private server Paladin a little bit back. And it's not working exactly the same as it was on the private server. And there are some key differences I would like to point out. So one here, for instance, is that the Legion Fel cannons actually are a lot more aggressive and will attack you from a lot further away on Blizzard server. And of course the figurine of the Colossus heals for less because it doesn't scale with the spell power. And that is an issue at lower gear levels, not mainly because you get less healing from the trinket, but mainly because you pull fewer mobs when you have less intellect, less spell power. I'm doing about half the damage I'm doing on my private server Paladin in this gear. And with that little spell power and that little intellect, you will need to do smaller pulls. And smaller pulls means that the figurine scales worse. Because if you pull a lot of mobs, like say you pulled like 3 times the mobs of these, then you would have less issues. Because the trinket would just scale a lot better. And another thing entirely is the block chance, which is a lot lower on this gear than what you will have available later on. Like my belt is just a stamina belt, for instance. So the first pull went pretty alright, but I had to use both my trinket and then the shield at the end. You will have to wait at lower gear levels for your divine protection every single time, your bubble. The blessing of protection does not cut it here because there's magic damage. So the usual route I've been doing is pulling about 10 to 15 mobs here and waiting until I get pretty low. And then using my figurine of the Colossus. It will usually heal you more or less fully back up. And the more physical attacks you have coming your way, the better. Like the mech engineers here, they will use the channel ability on you, which drains mana on life, which obviously does not proc the trinket, which is not ideal. And the reason I'm only doing this side, the Oblivion Forge base, and not the other one, is because the other one is really sketchy on beta. Because the magic damage is a lot higher than it ever was on the private server. I think some abilities probably weren't spammed as much on the private server. And also the fire on the ground was not present. I really doubt it's gonna be an issue if you have better gear. Like I have less than 10,000 health here and my spell power is about 300. So, yeah. I tried doing it like 10 times or something, and it's just not a good idea. But you can see here from killing these mobs over here, we're getting marks of Sargeras and Fel armaments. So it's still pretty viable, for sure. If you also had a healer friend with you, you could also obviously do a lot bigger pulls here. Because you could pop wings and go much more focused on your damage. So it might actually be an idea to have, say, a Resto Shaman providing you with the spell power totem and healing you to do this. Just as a suggestion. So The gear I have on this character, as I said, isn't the best at the moment. I have 4 pieces of the Righteous Dungeon set, and I have the necessary bits you would have. Like this gear, you would be able to do heroics, some of the easier ones, and certainly all of the normal dungeons. You would still need more gear to go into Karazhan, but this is it's a reasonable gear set to go into TBC with after leveling and having grinded some dungeons. Most of the damage is coming from Consecration, as you can see. I'm using Skull Flame Shield, but the dot and the flame proc from it isn't really... It's not worth much in TBC. At all, at level 70. In pre-patch it's gonna be worth, because it procs more, but once you go past 60, it just doesn't proc as much. But I don't really have any other better option at the moment, so that's what I'm using. But yeah, this other camp you see in front of here, that's the other camp I was talking about, which is not ideal to do this, which you will probably see in a bit here. I'm only using wizard oil for this, because it's pretty reasonable to do. I have an insane amount of wizard oil stocked up on my classic character, so I will be spamming it for sure. But I'm not using any flasks or other consumables here. I'm using some mana potions, but I think that's also pretty reasonable. So I'm waiting for the bubble to come off cooldown here, obviously, because if you don't have that, then you're gonna die no matter what. Just as a general note, I will definitely be putting out more videos soon. Now I have a lot of content stocked up, which I will make into videos. I just have not had the time to actually edit it and put a voice overlay on it, sadly. Both because of work and because of other World of Warcraft stuff. But yeah, doing this pull, as you can see, all these pulls you will start on your mount to take the least amount of damage and then kite and keep them in combat by using Consecration. But you will very soon see here the damage from these mobs on this side. The Gehenna Forge Camp is just too much, it's just so much damage. And most of it is magical, that's the main issue actually. There is just no way to avoid it. This would definitely be possible, as I said, if you have better gear. It's all a matter of how much spell power do you have, how fast can you kill them, and how big is your health pool, right? And mana pool. But with the current gear I have here and the amount of damage they are putting out, it's just not possible. The fire on the ground and the explosions you see are the things that are really killing me. So for early on, I definitely recommend doing the other Forge Camp, 100%. That Forge Camp is, yeah, it's not a good idea early on, unless you have a healer. You can see the damage taken here. Mostly from the Cyber Rage Ford Lords with the Chaos Nova. So, yeah, that Nova is really, really bad. I don't know if stacking some fire resistance or building a set for that would be easier for this, but I don't really think it's... I don't really see it as a viable option anyways, because you would sacrifice so much avoidance and spell power to do that. But yeah, the other Forge Camp will definitely work. So this is the Aldor farm, and I'm fairly certain you don't need a lot more gear. Like my belt I could upgrade very easily by the TK dungeon belt. And a lot of other pieces also very easily to upgrade. And there's no reason to be exalted with Aldor or Scryers before you go into Karazhan, to be honest. So just get the Honored and get the Enchant, and then do Karazhan and get the gear, and then do this to get all the way there. But here we are in Shadowmoon Valley, and this is the Scryers farm. So these mobs are one of the best paths of mobs to pull to get a lot of Arcane Tomes and Sun Fury Signets. So there are a few LOS spots along here which you can use, like this one. And as you can see, it's not that big of a deal to pull this. It's going pretty well, right? You can see the debuff I got there. Spell Breaking, or Spell Breaker I think it's called. Reduces magic damage done by a heap ton. That's one of the main issues with this place. It is an ability you can avoid, so if your avoidance is really high, you will generally not be getting it, but my avoidance at this point is not very high. And that's the main issue. If you had better gear and stacked avoidance, especially block rating, you will be having a lot less issues with this place. The mobs that put the Spellbreaker are the mounted ones on the hawks. So just know that if you pull those, you will get that debuff. And as you can see here, at this point I'm thinking popping my bubble and it's gonna be alright, and then I'm dead. So a thing with these mobs, as I learned, is that they have an arcane burst, which they spawn, which does a lot of damage. As you can see here. So if you are doing this pull, you will want to definitely not wait as long as I did with the bubble there. Because you wanna... it's actually stupid, like I wouldn't have been able to heal fully up anyway, so I should have just popped it and continued. But yeah, that's definitely a risk. Another risk entirely with this place is that there are a lot of elites going around there, both a Blood Elf elite with escorts and also big giants, which you need to avoid pulling. They have the same threat table as the other mobs, so they will chain pull. But yeah, this is a good spot though, for sure. And it's gonna be less contested than the other spot, which I'm gonna show in a bit here. Which is the definite best spot for Scryers farm. You can see we're getting some Sun Fury Signets, and Arcane Tomes are also dropping from these ones. So there are still a lot of mobs left, so I'm just gonna do another pull here and do it properly. And again, you want to pull them while you're mounted, but not wait too long, because they will reset if you wait too long with putting down the consecration. I try to keep Wisdom up on the mob and Wisdom up in myself, and I popped the figurine because they were doing a lot of damage. As you can see, there are no birds with me here, so I'm not getting the Spellbreaker debuff, which is really good. The slow debuff I don't really care about. Doesn't matter. But I still need both the figurine and my shield to survive this. I'm popping my shield so I don't die from the same thing earlier. And healing up. You can also use bandage in bubble if you wanted to save mana, but I opt to just go with the holy light and use a mana potion. And again, I want to reiterate, I do not have the best gear here. I have a green belt with only stamina on it. Like, there are very, very good chances you're gonna have better gear than this on TBC Live. Getting geared on the TBC Beta, like, except the Badge of Justice realm, has been a nightmare. Because the realms have been dying off immediately as they release the 70 realm, so... This is about as good as I managed to get it. But I think it's pretty representative. If anything, it's worse than what you would have yourself on in TBC Classic doing this. But as you can see, all the mobs are dead and I'm getting plenty of Sun Fury Signets. So the Sun Fury Signets and the Mark of Sargeras are the ones you can turn in for rep for either Scryers or Aldors respectively. And they will be worth a lot, but for you, early on, it's more important to get Scryers or Aldors for the enchants. And also, if you're a prot paladin, you want the chest from Aldor, Revered. Has a lot of stamina and defense, and it's generally a really good pick to get defense kept and a lot of stamina early on. Still also has some sockets. But yeah, this is a good pull here. And there are several other pulls like that you can do. As you can see, I'm trying here, but I did not take the giant into account. And as you can see, it will pull with the other mobs here. And I need to just let myself die, basically, because there's no way. And these birds, just to showcase it here, I pulled a lot of them. And I have the Spellbreaker debuff on me more or less constantly. So yeah, if you do this without a lot of gear, just avoid the birds. As I said, it can be avoided, so if you have a ton of block rating, this will not be that much of an issue, for sure, because you will just block it and it won't be applied, but yeah, it's an issue now. So here we are at the really juicy place for Scryers rep farming. This is the Terrace of the Black Temple, and these mobs are the Demon Hunter initiates, are probably like the single best mob for a Paladin to AoE farm ever. Like, they are so juicy. You just want to avoid the elite I marked with the skull there, like, don't pull him. That's gonna be a bad time. But these guys, they respawn extremely fast, and they hit really fast, and they have no magical abilities, basically. Some of them can put up the Spellbreaker debuff, but it's very infrequent. On the beta right now, it's kind of, you can see the... It's kind of weird, some of them just don't pull even if you walk straight on top of them. And some of them just pull after like 10 seconds. I assume it's just bugs, but yeah. You can see here I'm avoiding more or less all the attacks, and they are hitting so fast that if you are popping the figurine of the Colossus, you will just get so much health back, and they are just killing themselves on your Ret Aura and your Holy Shield, Blessing of Sanctuary. It's super nice. Yeah, you can see figurine up here, and I'm just getting so much health back. These mobs are extremely good for this. I also think they have a higher drop chance for Fel Armaments. Arcane Tomes. Because as you can see, I'm getting 2 here. And yeah, those are gonna be worth a lot. Those are the ones that give you the mats for the enchants you need. There are more of these a little bit further here, but there are also mobs further down here which you can pull, which aren't exactly as good. They are still pretty good though. They are more annoying because they heal. That's basically it. But apart from that, it's not really anything to worry about. So this is the next pull I recommend on this plateau, which I'm gonna start now. And this place is very liable to be contested, but it's also a very high respawn rate, so you might get away with it, especially on off hours, like middle of the night. But if you have this place for yourself, just farm it, just go for it, because it's gonna be, if you don't need a rep, you can sell the items and it's just gonna be insanely good gold early on. So you can see me running here trying to pick up all the mobs. And I just noticed my shield broke, so I'm switching to my other shield. Shouldn't be that much of a difference because Skull Flame is pretty bad at 70 anyways, like it barely procs. Some mobs reset, but that's okay. Gonna move on. I get the Spellbreaker, but it's not a lot of mobs that do it, and the reason I got it there is because I had my back turned to them, so I couldn't avoid it. The spinning mobs and the Flame Nova you don't really have to worry about, it doesn't hurt that much, so it's fine. Just continue pulling all the way down to the bottom. There's no ranged abilities in these, so you don't have to worry about that. And once you have them grouped up, you can just start killing them. And as you can see, this is a lot of mobs. And I pop the trinket early, start getting healed. And it's still looking a little bit tight, but I'm getting healing back because they are hitting me so fast, these two. Not as good as the others, obviously, but if you are getting the Spellbreaker debuff, just hold off on putting down Consecration, because it's gonna drain your mana a lot faster and you're not gonna do a lot of damage anyways. So I use my shield here, put down Consecration, heal. You don't wanna heal in bubble without having Consecration down. Just always have Consecration down. you need there's a certain limit to speed here, so you have to be wary of that. Because you will go both and out of health, so. These mobs, as I said, take longer to kill because they heal with a blood heal, which also hurts them, but it heals them more than it hurts them, so it still kind of prolongs the fight. And I end up using my Lay on Hands here, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, and that will make me able to do this pull. So needless to say, if you're doing this big of a pull, you should either have a little bit better gear, or you should have Lay on Hands ready. But yeah, I mean, you don't need a lot better gear to do this reliably without Lay on Hands. As you can see, it was pretty close. So yeah, the farm spots I've shown here are the preferred farm spots for early Aldors and Scryers farming, in my opinion. And what I've learned here by doing this in this gear is that it's extremely possible. It's a little bit more tricky than on the private server, and it will probably be contested. But if you can do this without getting too much congestion on the mobs, then you will definitely be able to get both a lot of gold and insanely good reputation early on, which is important for you as a tank. I just want to say at the end here, thanks for watching, and sorry for not putting out more. I have been a little bit busy, so. But in TBC and the next coming weeks, I will definitely be putting out more, so stay tuned.